Hello, today me and Pablo played 5 Invincible games on Roblox to find the best and the worst one since Invincible is peak, so if you're looking for a good Invincible game to play, by the end of this video you should have one. Each game will be ranked on these things. Invincible is how much it actually feels like invincible. Combat is how good the fighting is. Flying is how good the flying feels and works. Fun is how much fun I'm having. Spectacle is how good the game looks during things like fights or flying. Overall is what I think the game deserves as a ranking. I'd already played this game before, so I had some experience, and therefore we kind of got straight to the fighting. However, if I show all of the fight scenes in this video, then it'll be really long, and therefore, in the description there will be a link to all unedited fight scenes so you can watch the whole thing. Anyway, this game has a lot more similarities to Invincible than you might think, and me and Pablo did 3 fights in this game, so let's go over the similarities that were found in these fights. Firstly, you can visit Burger Mart, which is where the first fight actually started. Next thing you might notice is the punches are similar to how Mark punches Conquest. Flying through buildings is as easy and simple as it looks in the show. You can also grab another player and fly them through a building, and there's 2 animations for this. The one on screen right now is taken from the show. When 2 players punch at the same time, it has an even bigger smoke effect than normal punches. The other grab animation is also taken from the show. You can argue this move is the same one Conquest does.
Do a barrel roll!
You can also throw people into trucks and then the trucks will explode. The city also looks very similar to the Conquest fight if you haven't noticed by now.
Helicopter, helicopter!
Anyway, I finally decided to lock in, and then pretty much instantly this happened.
Knockout!
You can also boost, which temporarily increases flight speed. You can enter space, which is done multiple times in the show. Now you can't actually break the moon, so when you fly into it things get goofy. Anyway, since most of this game is from the Conquest fight, this is most likely an Oliver reference. Anyway, this was probably one of the coolest fights in the video, but unfortunately most references weren't present here or were already covered. But eventually this happened.
Fatality.
This was probably on accident, but some of the character models look a little like Monster Girl.
Hello there.
We did the final round and I won. However, he didn't know about one vital mechanic with the punches, so we decided that round didn't count, so we did one more in the subway, and we can add this to the reference count. And while we're at it, we can add these posters with memes onto the score. And then the subway was absolutely decimated while the game started tweaking as we somehow flew through floors and walls, but eventually I joined the subway because I was also absolutely destroyed. I mean, just look at the footage. And while you watch that, it's time to give the scores, and to keep this video from being longer than it has to be, I won't read the explanations for the scores out loud, but they are as simple as possible for you to read. Pablo did averages for his overall, which is why the number is so specific, and for the final score, which will be revealed in a second, I did the average of everything added up. And this means that Project Power ends up with a final score of 7 out of 10, and I'll reveal where that places it on the ranking later in the video. Alright, I'm not going to hold you for any longer. This game is absolutely trash and the worst on the list. First of all, this flying is so slow, which already makes it unfun to play. Second of all, the funnest thing to do in this game was drop down and create holes in the ground, and I mean, it isn't the most riveting gameplay.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water.
Third of all, pretty much everything in combat sucks. You fly so slow that you can't even hit someone. You can't lock onto anyone, so they kind of just fly past you. Sometimes the abilities don't work or are really hard to use, and by the time you have hit someone they're already back to full health, so you can't even win a fight, and if you want to lose you have to do nothing. The only thing this game has got going for it is craters and battle damage.
Stop!
I had to stop fighting back and stop flying to lose, and I suck at video games, so this shows how bad the game is. At the very least, I found a reanimin which got it like 1 more point on Invincible, but besides that, this game was the worst we played out of all of them and ended up with a 3 out of 10. If you look up Invincible, there's like 20 of these games, so I felt like I had to include at least one, and if you haven't been able to tell by now, the Thrag and Invincible outfits were our avatars and not in-game skins, so we decided to compare our old avatars to a new one that we find. For some reason, being the mini guys makes you really fast. Anyway, this game did not have the GOAT, but it did have many others such as the Invincible War variants, Conquest, Omni-Man, Frag, Alan, Eve, and a lot more. Anyway, I picked this version of the Invincible blue suit, just removed a few minor details for Robux purposes, and Pablo picked his favorite version of Frag in this game, so here's the comparison. Luckily, this game did have fighting, so we could give it a ranking on combat, and I actually liked my avatar a lot better, and it was less than 100 Robux, so I bought it. Anyway, you could only dash and repeat the same punch combo, which did add a little more strategy the further on we got in the fight, but that means there's not really a lot to show. Anyway, I won't reveal where this goes on the list just yet, but I can confirm that it is not the worst on the list, as I think I've stated many times in the last game. This game's final score is a 5 out of 10. Now to things. This game had multiple characters, but only 2 movesets besides the ones locked behind paywalls, and the other thing is that this game was the demo for another game. However, Pablo checked out the other game, and it's basically the same one, but you have to grind for the characters, so we just stuck to this game. We'll get to the moveset, but first, the flying is very fast, fun, and destructive, plus you can go into space, but there's nothing to do in space, so there's nothing worth showing. You can lock on in this game, but it doesn't work well, so luckily it's still easy to land hits. The first move I managed to land was the flying combo, which hits opponents 3 times then throws them into the ground. The next combo was the ground slam, which sends opponents spinning through the air. There was also a little ketchup, but I didn't even realize until editing right now. Also, all the stuff we were doing we figured out along the way, which is why in the unedited version there's 2 parts of this fight, as we stopped mid-fight to check out Unbreakable, and finally the weak punch isn't really weak, and that was all for the Invincible moveset.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
I then became Sinister Invincible, who has the same moveset, so nothing to show, but I did win the fight. And first of all, Omni-Man had the Mega Clap. Wait a minute. Anyway, Oliver said his signature catchphrase, and I got cooked.
Big ass beatdown coming up!
I then played as the GOAT, but unfortunately he has the same moveset as Mark, so here's the outcome. Okay, I have no clue what happened here, but I assume the game has a failsafe so people can't die by falling off the map, and it's the same thing that happened to Pablo earlier in the video, or maybe it's because Oliver is so goated that the universe just said no and let me win. We had a final round to settle the tie, and I was cooked once again, but anyway, here's the results, and it actually scored the best on the list so far with an 8 out of 10. Now, this game's flying is really weird. You fly really slow, however you can temporarily boost, which makes you go really fast, however you can only destroy buildings while boosting. It's super goofy. Anyway, the first move I landed was the up kick, which reminds me of these two moves from the Conquest fight. After that was beat down, which reminds me of this move.
Ah, bueno, adiós, master.
No clue what Adrenaline Rush does, but the animation is always this goofy when I land it. And finally, the neck grab, where you can fly players through buildings. Anyway, the game tried killing me off camera, but my aura was so strong I just came back on screen. Anyway, I won the next fight, then we took the next one to space, but I was dragged right back down to Earth. Anyway, I died in this fight, but then we figured out how to change it to nighttime, so we did another fight back on Earth. And for the final fight of the video, Pablo won, and here is the scores, and it ended up scoring an 8 out of 10. And now, it's time to find the best Invincible game on Roblox right now. Let's do this quickly, because there's not really any reason to drag it out. Viltrum Battlegrounds placed last with a score of 3 out of 10. Invincible Outfits placed 4th with a score of 5 out of 10. Project Power placed 3rd with a 7 out of 10. Invincible Destruction Test placed 2nd with an 8 out of 10. And the winner was Project Vil Trimites, which also got an 8 out of 10, but before rounding it, the game got a higher score. However, my personal ranking looks like this, so if you want a good Invincible game, I'd try Project Power or Project Vil Trimites. That's pretty much everything, so thanks for watching, bye-bye.
Cecil! I need you, Cecil!
Are you sure?